Hey everyone, you're listening to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh and whatever special guest he has today. You can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good. And follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey, welcome to the program. Danny Cahill is our guest today on Party Time, My Golf Story. A little bit of a different kind of guest than some of our others in which golf came into his life later in life. And then he wrote the book, How to Quit Golf. Huh? Who wants to do that? You've wanted to do that before. But then the sickness that is golf keeps bringing us back. So we're going to get into it with Danny on that. Very interesting guy. He's written 2 other books, so 3 books total. He's a playwright. He owns his own company, a headhunting firm. He is one of those people that got to golf later in life because he was doing other things and then he fell in life. So his story might mirror your story. And that's the whole point of the podcast is interesting people with interesting stories. And the common denominator is always golf. And that is Danny Cahill. Hey, before we go any further, just a reminder of certain things. I ask you this every podcast. Like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, leave a review. That matters to the bean counters at Google and also YouTube because they keep an eye on that stuff. And ultimately, we could be sponsored. I mean, we are sponsored, but we could get some other paying sponsors as well to keep this thing going. Big thanks to Party Drinks, the title sponsor of Party Time, My Golf Story. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course and you're tired of hard seltzers that taste like crap because there's crappy spirits in it and they've been covered up with sweeteners, then try a Party. Absolutely made for you, for golfers, by golfers. And that's all the difference. And if your dream is to live in beautiful Southwest Florida, especially the greater Sarasota area, nobody better than the golf real estate pros, the Vince Visicaro and Gene Walsh from suncoastdreams.com. They're live at Lakewood National Golf Club, which is absolutely the #1 golf community in America, hosts a Corn Ferry Tour event, 2 Arnold Palmer designed golf courses, and about 50 vacancies. So if you're thinking about retiring early or doing the snowbird thing, whatever it is, now is the time. And Vince and Gene are your people at suncoastdreams.com. All right, enough of the usual preamble. Let's bring the man of the hour in. This is Danny Cahill. Danny, I'm so excited to talk to you because your story is a little bit different, but let's just, start at the beginning here. Where are you joining us from today?
Oh, yeah. I'm in Cheshire, Connecticut, where my home office is. We have remote offices all over the country. Thank God, because I get to go there in the winter and play golf. But I'm in Cheshire, so it's that time of year where none of the golfers want to talk about it, but we start to see leaves on the green, and that means this season's almost over, and people move the leaves without talking about it. And 2 weeks from now, they'll start talking about it, and it's the beginning of the end for us. So, yeah, late golf season, Connecticut is where I am.
I'll never forget I was caddying one time at the country club in Brookline, and it was a prominent doctor. And what you're describing, he said that he points to the leaves on the ground, although it was maybe mid-September. Yeah. He said, "You see that, Kev? It's all over." And I said, "Stop talking that way. You're killing my buzz." And But he's onto something just like you are. You know what's coming, and it's just harder to play golf in the fall. As much as people like rave about, I like the changing colors of the leaves and everything. You know what that tells me? Yeah, you don't rake your leaves at home. It's somebody else.
Right. Yeah. For me, it's a sign of I promised myself in April that I was going to get so much better this year, and it didn't happen. And here are the leaves to show me that it wasn't ever meant to happen. So, yeah, the leaves are not good.
So you're late to golf.
Yeah.
When did you start playing?
Well, I remember exactly because I was 44. I was a tournament tennis player. For those of you who don't know, tennis has a ranking system very similar to golf's handicap system. So a 3.0 tennis player is kind of a 20 handicap, and a 3.5 is kind of a 15, and a 4 is kind of a single digit, and a 4.5 is kind of a scratch tennis player, and a 5 is a pro. And I was a 4.5 for most of my 20s and 30s. And so I spent my weekends traveling to tennis tournaments. And at 44, I got to the finals of a tennis tournament, and I was playing a 22-year-old kid. So he was literally half my age. And I had so much Ben Gay on that my eyes were tearing before the actual match started. And I ended up beating him. But I said to myself, boy, I need like 20 Advil and a nap. And this kid was going out to party after. And I was like, what am I doing? And so I was complaining about this to my friends, and they were all like, yeah, you ought to take up golf. It's time. And I had always associated golf with something that rich guys did and old people did, and you didn't sweat. And I didn't know anything about it. So one of the guys who was a good player said, meet me on the driving range. And I went to the driving range. And as soon as you get that ball in the air, man, it's over. You're like, wow, like I did that.
Hitting it pure. You know that in tennis when you get it right on the money, right on the sweet spot. Yeah. Even if the direction isn't right there, but you compress the ball and hit through the ball. Yes. So you fell for it pretty hard right away, or it was a grind until you started falling in love with it?
No, man. I'm the same way in relationships. I fall hard, and I was, as soon as I got one ball up in the air in the direction of the flag that I was aiming at, I instantly thought, I'm going to be on the senior tour. This is my new life. Little did I realize that it was just because I had some hand-eye coordination. I had no idea what I was doing. So the very first time I went to a driving range, my friend was like, dude, like you hit that 7-iron like 150 yards. And 6 months later, I was still hitting a driver 150 yards and super frustrated. And then I went and got serious and got lessons, and things got better. But it was a woeful 6 months where I wondered if I was doing the right thing.
Danny Cahill is our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, then Party is definitely the drink for you. And the Golf Pro Real Estate, or the Golf Real Estate Pros, they're not golf professionals. They're professionals of real estate to help you out with golf. Vince Visicaro and Gene Walsh from suncoastdreams.com. If your dream is to live in the greater Sarasota area, nobody better than Vince and Gene to take care of that for you, and no place better than Lakewood National Golf Club. Danny, what kind of work do you do? I know it seems like you have time to do things that you love, but I know your hands are full with the original job, which started early on in your life and now extends. What's the primary living? Yeah,
so I'm not sure my arc could or would happen again to young people, because young people can't imagine staying at a job for their whole career. That's not their goal. But of course, in my generation, the point was to get a job, go up the ladder at that company, become a manager, and eventually buy the company. So I literally started at this recruiting firm the week after I graduated college. I had no idea what I was doing. It's a hardcore commission-only sales job. I had no idea what a salesperson was supposed to do. I had a sort of a negative connotation in my head about salespeople. I thought about car salesmen in plaid jackets and gold teeth saying, I can see you driving this car. But it turned out that it was absolutely made for me, that I liked persuading people, and I liked cold calling, and I liked meeting new people, and I liked making things happen, and I liked the money of sales. So long story short, I hit a home run. I was rookie of the year. I was the top producer the next year. I was their leading producer for 4 years. And then at 26, I went for it, and I bought the company from the owner, and I built it into one of the country's largest search firms. Along the way, people started hearing about how I did that, and people started asking me to speak at conferences. So I started a motivational speaking and coaching business. And now that coaching business is the largest coaching business in the recruiting industry nationally. So I built those two businesses over time, and always had the writing as sort of an avocation my whole life. Those three things have taken up my world. So that is one of the hardest things about golf. Like tennis was, you beat somebody 6-1, 6-1, it's over in 45 minutes to an hour, and you're back in the showers. So in golf, I don't think I could have done it much earlier, Kev, because I didn't have 4.5 hours in any given day, and the practice required to be good.
I got you. But let me ask you this, because I see a lot of business done on the golf course. If you could do it all over again, and married golf into that, would that not have helped business with sales? Because I know a lot of salespeople, they do the sale on the golf course because they want the relationship with the client, and golf is the vehicle to get the conversation going and to sustain that relationship.
Yeah, and I see it all the time at my club. I think it's super smart. I got to say, it was never my thing. To me, I'm a pretty intense workaholic guy. So to me, golf was an escape. It's like, I'm going to, for the next 4.5 hours, worry about where this ball is going and help you find your ball if you're my partner. I don't want to know what you do for a living. I don't care. I don't want small talk. I want to play golf. That was my feeling at first, for probably the first 10 years. And then as I became, friends with people at the club, then business and networking relationships came. But for me, it was always an escape. Nothing was more fun for me. And I met some amazing people by being at a business conference, which was usually at a resort, renting some clubs, getting sent to the first tee. And how do you guys mind if I play with you? Sure. And, you meet some wonderful people that way and have some great experiences. So, I was the opposite of, I hear so many people say, I'm going to learn golf so that I can network and get more business. To me, it was like, I'm going to play golf to get away from 100% of my time being devoted to business.
And let your high be a good score. What's the lowest you've ever shot, Danny? Take me there.
Oh God. I've shot 75 twice. I'm a 10 handicap. I shot 75 twice.
That must have been a hell of a high.
Well, the first time was, I think it says all there is to say about golf when you start late in life and you really have no inner confidence. I have a friend who's a golf pro, and when I first learned to play golf, I was like, "Hey, Mark, I need some help. I want to learn how to play golf." He said, "Oh no," because I was 44 and I was an athlete, and he said, "I would rather take somebody who was taught to play golf when they were 6, 7 years old, and then got sick of it when they were 10, gave it up for 30 years. Now at 40, they want to go back to it. I'll have that person playing really well in 6 months. But give me some athlete who thinks that all I got to do is use my tennis muscles to hit golf balls, and that person will be a disaster." And I was like, yeah, that would be me. So I remember when I shot 75, it's so funny. This is how golfers are, right? So I knew I was playing well. And the thing about it, I remember, Kev, is, you go to golf pros and they say, "I'm going to give you 27 swing thoughts to fix your swing, but don't think about this on the course." I'm like,
exactly.
How is that possible, right? So I always struggled with that. But the first time I shot 75, I do remember having no swing thoughts. I just looked at the target and trusted my body to do it. So of course, the people that I played with are people I played with quite often. And on the 17th tee, Don said to me, "Dude, you want to know where you are?" And I was like, "I think I'm going to break 80. He was like, "Oh no, dude, you par out and you're going to shoot, 73. And I parred 17, and came to 18. Now I hit sort of a low pull draw is my basic shot. It's a draw on a good day and a pull on a bad day. And I haven't hit the ball right on 18 my entire life. And here I am, need a par for 73. and I pumped that ball so far out of bounds, right?
So this is pressure getting the best of you.
I know it's funny. I went home and I remember driving home thinking, instead of saying, wow, I beat my best score by 3 shots and I had a great day on the golf course, all I thought was, you double bogeyed the last hole, you worthless piece of crap. You should sell your clubs and never play. Take up pickleball. Like
so you're a golfer. Now I know you're a golfer because it's like the fisherman. You remember the one that got away, not the one that you land, and it just bugs the shit out of you.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
But I like that you felt the pain though, and then because it's more profound and it just sears it into your memory. And look, we've all been there before. Yeah. Where are you playing your golf primarily now? Tell me about your club and what it's like, who's there, and just the vibe.
Yeah, it's a cool club called the Golf Club of Avon in Avon, Connecticut. Very old New England course, over 100 years old. So small greens, very undulating. New England, lots of trees, lots of heavy rough. So it's generally considered, when I have friends from the desert come in, they really struggle with it. But it's a great place to learn. And the cool thing about it, from just a kind of panache factor, is a lot of the people, due to our location, we're not far from ESPN. A lot of ESPN's top people play there. So, you see someone on TV in the morning, and then he drives to the golf course and there he is on the practice green, and you're going to get hooked up with them. And you learn something really important about golf that I know you know. It's like the more famous they are, the more well-known, the better the player, the nicer the people they are to play with. I used to think, oh God, I'm just learning the game. I don't want to play with somebody really good. In fact, I always play better with people who are really good players, and they're much kinder and they're much nicer than that, fellow, hack golfer who's saying, did you make 4 or 5 on that hole? What was that? It's like, these guys are the nicest guys. And I'm always happy when I get hooked up with them,
Did you ever play a round of golf with Boomer, Chris Berman?
I did years ago. Yeah.
What was that like? Was it loud?
That's the great thing about these people is like, they really are who they are on TV. Back then he was fooling around with that Mo Norman natural golf. And he was actually hitting it pretty good with that crazy swing. But yeah, he was funny. He was loud. He was, very supportive of what you did. He would tell stories. They're all like that. I played with Seth Greenberg the other day, and
the basketball coach and analyst.
He's not like, hey, I'm here to play golf. You want to talk basketball? Sure. He'll tell you great stories, and but all these guys are competitive. Like they want to win, and they play hard. They don't take it super seriously. They know it's not life, but during that time they're in the ropes, they're playing hard, which I love.
Yeah, you want the win. It feels good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Danny Cahill, the author of How to Quit Golf, is our guest here on Party Time, brought to you by Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, if you're tired of beer, tired of crappy seltzers, then Party is a drink for you. Nice, smooth, real, authentic cocktails, handmade. That is a drink for you. Party. And if your dream is to live in Southwest Florida on a golf course or in a golf resort community, nobody better than the golf real estate pros at suncoastdreams.com. Vince Vizicaro and Gene Walsh, they live at Lakewood National Golf Club. There is inventory at Lakewood National Golf Club. I would get on it if I were you. If it's good enough for me, I think you would like it too. Danny, let's get in the book, How to Quit Golf. You can't be serious. You can't be serious. Or is this a satire and the title is kind of a ruse?
Yeah, it's fiction. And sure. As soon as I hit the bookstores, I had friends going, dude, are you quitting? Like, are you not playing Saturday? And I'm like, no, it's fiction, guys. But, long story short, I had just like 4 years ago published a very heavy, memoir. So obviously memoirs are real, about midlife crisis and aging and divorces. And it was all heavy, real stuff. And it was a very successful book, but it was heavy. And I just said, I want to write something lighter, and I had written plays off Broadway that were comedies. So I wanted to go back to something light. And so I said to myself, what is it that I haven't mined yet in my life? And I realized in the last 20 years since I've been playing golf, I find this culture hilarious. Like just the deep immersion of it, like the closest thing I've seen to it really is skiers and people who own boats. Like I have a coaching business, and I've had, skiers say to me, look, just between you and me, like I live to ski. Like, don't tell my wife and kids this, but I live to ski. Like I need to make money so I can ski. And then whatever time I have left over, I'll spend on my family. And I was like, yeah, I get that. I mean,
I get that too. But tell me this, let me stop you. Can you just like a tennis, I imagine you could tell in your competitive tennis days, you could tell a real tennis player by just the way he walked and the way he packed his bag and like who the pretenders were and who the pretenders were. And golf's the same way. I mean, I know it. I can see just the equipment set up right away. This guy's a stick, or another. This guy's a pretender. And anybody that has iron covers, forget it. He's a jabroni. Right?
Totally.
Sorry to interrupt. So we were talking about like people saying like they live for golf and maybe not so much for their families, but they can't help themselves. Right, pick it up from there.
Yeah, and I would hear stories on Sundays, from guys that I was playing with saying, about the lie they told to get out of church. And one guy, in order to make it for the club qualifier, had to tell this big lie to his boss about how he was sick and how he had to remember to cough Monday morning when he went to work because he was. And I was just like, wow, it is amazing how addicted people get to this silly game. And so I just said, I think this is what I want to write about. Like, what if there was, so the main protagonist in the book is this guy that gets the golf bug, and he's not very good. He's a 15 handicap, but he lives for it. He's watching Golf Channel all day long. And, he's in restaurants using a fork and flipping his wrists over to release the club. And, he's that kind of guy and doesn't realize that his, wife is getting unhappy, doesn't really know where his kids are most of the time. And so I just ran with that story of what happens when a person in middle age loses their way. And it's, there are serious parts of the book where it's like, no, wait a minute, at some point, your value system is getting away from you here. And you're going to wake up one day and realize all I did was waste that time. But in the moment, it just seems so important to you. And I think part of it is because, and I remember this when I first started playing golf, people around me were like, why are you into golf so much all of a sudden? And I was like, well, because this is the first thing in a long time that I know I can get better at. When you get to midlife, you get in your mid 40s. I mean, I've been a gym rat my whole life. I wasn't going to get stronger in the gym. I wasn't going to all of a sudden hit a PR for squats. I couldn't play tennis the way I used to anymore. But golf is a thing where it's incremental, of course, and you go back and forth. But you really believe, I'm not done improving here. Like, I think I can get better, even though you may never do it. So the book is about this really fear of dying, this really fear of, I don't want everything to fall away. So I need something in my life that I can get better at.
That's profound because it's the new frontier, and that impacts everybody. Even when Tiger rebuilt his swing after his historic 2000, the question was why? Why would you do that when you had all the success? He thought he could get better, and even if it's a little thing, if we improve our short game or whatever it is, we feel like we're reaching for something. We're aspiring to something that we can get better. But then the reality of the game and the difficulty of it smacks us in the face, and we're like, oh, well, that clearly did not work. So I get where you're going with that. And I think you're telling everybody else's stories in print with your book, How to Quit Golf. And I know you love it, but did you ever hate it? Did you ever go through a stretch where you're like, this is driving me freaking crazy? It's like, why am I just making my head explode over nothing?
Yeah. So you mentioned short game. So I I was fortunate early on. I had enough money to be able to fly to PGA National and get Mike Adams, who's a top 10 Golf Digest guy. And he saved, probably 5 years of my life because he was like, okay, you're not very flexible. You've been lifting weights. You can't get into the positions most people get. So we got to use your big muscles. You're going to take it halfway back. Everybody's going to tell you you're doing it wrong, but don't listen to them. You're going to set the club early and you're going to think of yourself as a hockey player. And all of a sudden, I got 10 shots better and I was able to play the game. But then I got into it and now I wanted to get better in my short game. So I saw a different guy and he watched me chip and putt and he said, meh, you're okay. But you don't understand that most great golfers hit every chip, every pitch with an open club face. There's no putting the club for a good player. So he showed me how to do it. And he just, told me to open the club up and trust it. And you got to swing through it. And I'm sure it's 100% correct. But it was 3 summers ago, something happened between that lesson and the playing the game. And I had the worst case of chipping yips ever.
Oh boy, that'll cripple you. That'll mess your score up. And once it's in your head, all you're trying to do is avoid chipping, which puts more pressure on your approach shots. And now you're fried.
And it got to the point where everybody, that famous, you shank one with a chip, everybody's looking at you like, what was that? And then you do it again. And now people start being really quiet. And it's almost like they feel so sad for you. And, I was raised in low economic status. So I know what the shame is of poverty. And all of a sudden these things come back to you. And I was like, how did I forget how to chip? It took me probably 3 months of, nobody who's on this podcast will be surprised at this. I had to do just the opposite. I had to basically shut the club, exaggerate taking it in from the inside to get back to neutral. And now I'm fine. But I remember that 3 months thinking, oh, this is horrible. I don't want to play anymore. I can't do this. And I'm such a stubborn person that I knew I was going to work through it. But I lived in terror driving to the golf course on a Saturday morning because I was like, I'm not good enough to not have a chip at some point, and I can't put them. It's just horrible. That was my experience. I hated it. Yeah,
the yips of any kind, chipping and putting, because that's going to happen. The driver yips that Ian Baker Finch had years ago, and it ultimately caused him to quit the game because he couldn't get off the tee. So then the rest of it couldn't happen. But we've all experienced that, the fear that lives within us, and we're just waiting for it to rear its ugly head. That was really an honest betrayal because we've all been there before. Hey, Dan, tell me something. Now, you've been playing golf for about 20 years. I've seen golf change radically in the last 10 years, namely with drinking on the course. I'd say cigars have been there for a while. Music is a thing. What's your thing? Do you do any of that?
So it's so funny because we have some people that have been at the club for 40 years, and then there's some young families and new members. And it cracks me up to go to the first tee. And if I'm playing with a younger person, he'll normally say, "Are you cool with me playing music?" And I'm like, dude, with all the voices in my head when I play golf, what's a little music? But there's some senior members who get really mad and say no. No drinking, no smoking, no vaping. Oh my God, they want to call the cops. I'm cool with all of that. And honestly, I'm jealous because I see people have a couple drinks and they are calmer and they're looser and their swings stay in rhythm and they play better. I just have such a low tolerance. I'm happy to do it after the round, but during the round, I would be afraid I couldn't hit the ball. So I'm jealous of the guys that can do it. I wish I could.
Yeah, I'm the same way. One of my good friends who was a guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story, Bill Hyman, who is the executive director of the First Tee of Philadelphia. We grew up together. We had transformative moments in life together, past certain, both broke our, through some barriers. Like first first drinks ever, like beers while we're fishing and everything. For he and I, like we talked about drinking on the golf course, and he said in words how I've always felt. He said, I think golf's hard enough. He's like, I'm not going to make it any harder. Yeah. And I think we both decide we're going to catch up afterwards, kind of like you said. It's just not really for us, although we are a company that promotes party. For some people, they need the swing loop, and
no question.
Fine for them, not so much for me. Hey, Danny, we're getting toward the end here. Tell me about your golf buddies. Like, who do you play with, and what is a day with your true buddies? What does it do for you?
So, it's funny. A lot of times I play with people from work, people who work for me. And, I must say something about my hiring abilities, because these guys work for me. I sign their paychecks, and they're not smart enough to let me beat them in golf. They're all really good players. We have a 3, a 4, and a scratch golfer who work here, who are senior players. So we'll play a lot on a Friday afternoon if we've had a good work week. So they're fun to play with. And what's funny about that is, we're in the same business together, and rarely do we talk business unless we get a call from a client on the course. And I know my girlfriend and their wives find that hard to believe. Like, you're going out to play with coworkers, and you're telling me all you talk about is golf the whole time? I have a whole chapter about this in the book. Women think men are talking about personal lives and family situations and gossips and rumors, and it's like, nope, we're just talking about golf. You're playing the same course every week with the same guys, and you still talk about golf for 4 hours? Yep. That's what we do. That's what guys do. I understand that it's hard to believe, but that's what we do. Mm-hmm. So that's my Friday foursome. On Sundays, I really like the idea of, and I travel a lot for my motivational speeches, so I don't have a regular group on a Sunday. And I love that. I love going up to the first tee and go to the pro and say, hey, can you work me in? And he'll say, sure. And so it's a different group every week. I would say they tend to fall into 2 buckets, Kev, as far as stereotypes. There's the Phil Mickelson, I'm going to bust your stones all the time and tease you all the way around kind of guy. And then there's the, super supportive, helps you find your ball. Every time you hit a bad shot, he says, oh, you can make 4 from there. That'll play, even though it's horrible. Or that won't hurt you. That one always kills me. Don't tell me it won't hurt me. It already hurts me. It hurts my soul. So there's the Phil Mickelson bust ass, and then there's a super supportive, sweet guy. I like the supportive guys better. I don't need to be.
They're good souls. So they reveal who they are. Like the ball busters. It's good to have a zinger every now and then, but the guy that thrives on busting your balls is they wear you out. You know what I mean? I don't know if you'd want to do much business with them, because they're going to wear you out somewhere else, right?
Yeah, exactly. It says you got a certain level of mean-spiritedness in you that I don't need.
Yeah, golf reveals character. All right, Danny, last question here before we wrap up here on Party Time, my golf story. Just tell me, and take your time answering it. How has golf impacted your life? And can you imagine life now without the game of golf in it?
Oh yeah, no, I couldn't. It is part of my identity now. I think that's clear enough when I go to the dry cleaners and the dry cleaner says, "Are you a professional golfer?" No, it's just all my clothes make it look like I'm a professional golfer. I'm known as being a type A in my life. The saying around here is, "Danny's so intense he'll grind your teeth." And I needed some other version of life. I needed something that is not as intense. And don't get me wrong, I go at it happy and hard, and I want to shoot the lowest score possible. But I've been able to say there's real life, and there's stuff that matters, and then there's this thing we do out in this emerald playground where we talk and walk, and at the same time play this game that we're capable of playing, sometimes well, sometimes not. And to take a 4 or 5 hour period and take a time out from the intensity of the rest of my psyche is just, it's important to me now. I couldn't do without it.
Well said. That is, you are a true golfer. You reveal that with your humor, with your struggle, your honesty in dealing with the chip yips, and then writing a book, which kind of makes fun about golf, but at the same time just reminds us of why we love it so much. Hey, Danny, anybody that plays golf is my friend, and you are my friend. Let's keep in touch. Let me help you with the book here. Where can listeners, viewers, and readers buy it?
Yeah, thank you. And back at you. It's in bookstores, but most people buy it on Amazon or Kindle. There's an audiobook version that I recorded myself on Amazon. So yeah, you can find it easily on Amazon.
All right, Danny. Hopefully you break your personal best of 75 and do a little better on the 18th hole. But listen, brother, I've thrown up all over myself trying to get a good round in too. So, and I know I'm not the only one. So you have a lot of company. All right, let's call it a day. And you tell those ESPN animals to just get everything together. All right.
Got it done.
Amen. All right.
Thanks, see you.
For Danny Cahill, I'm Kevin Walsh. Hey, thanks for watching and listening to Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks, and also the Golf Real Estate Pros of Vince Fizzicaro and Gene Walsh at suncoastdreams.com. For Danny Cahill, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Party Time, My Golf Story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the Golf Real Estate Pros Gene Walsh and Vince Fizzicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.
This is Vince Fizzicaro and Gene Walsh with the suncoastdreams.com real estate team at Fine Properties. We've helped hundreds of families find their dream homes in golf and resort communities in Lakewood Ranch, Bradenton, Sarasota, Parrish, Venice, and the surrounding areas.
Let us be your guides to finding your dream home here as well. Learn more at suncoastdreams.com or call us at 941-220-4000.